going on to the next topic, and we're gonna move on to the NBA actually. And this weekend, there's the whole NBA landscape feels like it's just been talking about David Blatt getting fired, David Blatt, David Blatt, David Blatt. And it's funny because we were just on here last week talking about the Cavaliers after last week's loss, and we were talking about, oh, how does it seem like if David Blatt, would it make sense for David Blatt to be fired? Could he possibly be fired? Lo and behold, Friday evening, you hear the news. David Blatt's been fired. Breaking news. Blah 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 blah. And you're just like, what? Like, so many people were just astonished by him being fired, and because essentially he did have an 83-40 coaching record. So he doubled his losses actually in wins, and he had just had this team in the NBA Finals. And you hear different quotes from players and other coaches. Like Rick Carlisle said, this is embarrassing for the league and stuff like that. He's like, how is a winning coach essentially get fired? And then I think he made a joke with somebody saying that if David Blatt can get fired, or it's either Rick Carlisle or Steve Kerr that said if David Blatt can get fired, then we're all in danger. And you look at that and you just wonder, was this the right move for the Cavaliers? Carla, let me hear what you think. Was this the right move, especially at this point in time in the season? Because when he got fired, the Cavaliers were 30-11. So and now they're 30-12 under Tyronn Lue because they got their first loss. But yeah, do you think this was the right move for the Cavaliers, and especially at this time in the season?
I don't think so. They kicked him. We're not gonna say because of the loss against the Warriors. The Warriors' loss was big, kind of like they kind of like showed us how great the Warriors were against the Cleveland Cavaliers, and how much the coaching should have been a part of that game in order to get that deficit of 34 points smaller. I don't think that they should have kicked him because he did have a winning record. He probably the only coach in the Cavaliers, in the whole the franchise history, to have a winning record like that and to get them to the finals. So to kick him is just brings up a question mark. Yeah, maybe the players aren't as connected to the head coach as they are the assistant coach, but he's still the head coach for a reason because he can get those wins. He's been getting those wins, and he's 33-11. Mid-season, it's you looking at it, it's just like they're still winning though. They still have 3 times as many wins as they had as losses. So just to kick him just confused me. And the thing is, when they kicked him and brought in Tyronn Lue, it's like the coaching really didn't change. Because in the next game where they lost with his coaching, it was just looking like the previous game against the Warriors. It was like they didn't know where to go. Their shot selections were off, and they put up 20-something 3-point attempts and missed the majority of them. Probably only made 3. So it's just the coaching. When the coaching switched, it didn't look like a very big difference in the way they've been playing. I just think that this whole Cleveland Cavaliers franchise is all shook up, and to get rid of that man like that, I don't think it was a smart move.
All right, Rashad, what do you think about the firing?
This man David Blatt has been on the basically he was on the hot seat since last year mid-season when they went on that slump. So if they were trying to get rid of him then, even though he made it to the finals, I see why they're trying to get rid of him now. Do I think it's a good decision? No, because at the end of the day, it's the players who play, not the coaches. When all you did was bring in an assistant coach who basically is going to run the same offense as the same team. So all you did was use the coach that, like we say, LeBron talks to more and switch chairs with him and then get rid of the other guy. But we can't David Blatt did take this team to the finals, well, with LeBron at least. But firing him and then not change, nothing's changed. Like you said, they're still the same team. They're still gonna play the same way, and unless someone like this brings in a new offense, which Tyronn Lue is not gonna switch a new offense in a day or anything like that. So it's not. I don't even think it's not even a morale booster because, like LeBron said, he didn't even know. Like he was just as shocked as everybody else was when he got fired. It's not a morale booster to lose a coach. Those teams isn't playing to get that coach fired like some teams do. It's not like that. So firing him wasn't a smart decision, wasn't a good decision. They lost a good coach who actually should go to another team and actually make an impact there. And then we'll finally see and appreciate it David Blatt on another bench coaching somewhere. because he was an effective coach.
So have y'all ever, in sports when y'all played, have y'all ever had a coach that could bring out more energy in you guys when you guys played?
Like a certain coach. I mean, there's certain coach. I mean, there's certain coaches you like better than others that you would rather play for at the same time. But I mean, that doesn't cause the other coach to be fired. Even if your whole team is like, damn, I really like playing for this coach. Like, let's say like in football, something like, I really like the receivers coach. Like he really gets to you, like that you know what you need to do wrong instead of just yelling at you or something like that in high school. But I mean, even if all of us say that, nobody's gonna be like, well, athletic director's not gonna be like, well, get the head coach out of here, make him the head coach, something like that. So yeah, I mean, everybody has coaches they'd rather play for.
It's gonna bring out more energy,
that,
but
so they tell you the right thing. Yeah, you're more hype or whatever.
But they might have better. They may not have better play calls.
Have y'all ever, I don't know, ever played with a coach that you wondered, man, this dude doesn't know what he's doing, and you're like, we need a better coach in this situation? I feel like we had a better coach who would have got a lot more wins.
I mean, you can't really have a lot more wins with that team as well as they were winning. I mean,
I'm just asking. But
everybody had bad coaches.
Yeah.
They wish, saying we had somebody else who could do better. But I mean, this is the same case for like David Blatt, who's actually had this team constantly winning and at the top of the East. So
it's Tyronn.
I mean, at the end of the day, it's still a players' league. So
this is to my case, because there's been games where Tyronn Lue actually saved the Cavaliers, but David Blatt was the head coach. So if you're a star player and your timetable to win is so short, LeBron's steadily decreasing out of his prime. He's falling out of his prime, and essentially he's becoming the next man up on that team is Kyrie Irving. And you know this as an organization, and you have a coach who's still getting accustomed to the NBA game, while at the same time he did make it to the NBA Finals. How much of that can we attribute to the fact that they had LeBron James on their team, and they were probably the most talented team in the East? Because it can be argued that if in that Chicago Bulls series in game 4 or 5, when David Blatt is trying to call a timeout when they have no timeouts left, you get a technical for that, and then the possession gets awarded to the Bulls. And so LeBron never gets to take that game-winning shot. They could possibly have gone down in the series and ended up losing the series, which they would have never advanced to play the Warriors. So you have little mistakes that happen like that, and then you have a coach who, if we all have played on a team, you all know there were players that didn't get reprimanded by coaches. So then you see that, and you see a coach in David Blatt who doesn't exactly get on LeBron James when he misses a defensive rotation, but it's Tyronn Lue who's that guy for the team who goes like, hey, LeBron, you need to rotate here. You need to get back on defense. The star player, the guy that everybody's recognized as he is the organization, Tyronn Lue's the guy that actually has the wherewithal to tell him, hey, man, you have to do this and do that. Whereas David Blatt's a little bit more resigned to doing it because of the stardom of LeBron James. Y'all haven't had a coach that's done things like that, and you've been like, well, that's not exactly right for our team. If this guy is not, you're doing your job, but another guy's messing up or something like that, and it's costing the whole team. But the coach won't say anything to this guy because he is a star. I mean, when players have coaches like that, you look at a coach, you're like, why isn't, like, you're the head coach. You shouldn't be afraid to come at like LeBron James is technically your franchise. Cleveland isn't a playoff contending team without LeBron James, or find a championship team without LeBron James. But the players respect Tyronn Lue. I mean, him and LeBron have also been friends since he was 17 years old. But that hasn't stopped Tyronn Lue for still getting on LeBron and getting on him about things. Even when he got hired, he told LeBron, hey, I'm gonna have to hold you accountable, and I'm gonna have to hold you accountable in front of everybody, in front of all the guys. But because I can do that, because I can hold you accountable, that'll let me hold accountable everybody else on the team. So go ahead, Rashad.
See, I agree. I agree with you on some points. I agree with you on, it's like, this is where it's conflicting me with you. Every coach is not a leader or a manager. There's a difference between the two. There's a difference between being a leader, difference between being a manager. Mm-hmm. Your organizer, your planner, you're getting your plays in. That's your manager. That's your David Blatt. Then you got your leader who's not afraid to speak up, who motivates people, is a leader. a good leader is not necessarily always a good coach, but also a good manager is not always a good coach. But if you don't have both aspects, someone like a Phil Jackson, because there's not that many coaches in the league that's actually a great coach. You see what I'm saying? Like a coach, there's not. Okay, let me rephrase. There's not that many coaches that makes a team play better. More so, say other than like a Phil Jackson who puts in a specific offense. Because you can say the same thing like a Steve Kerr with Mark Jackson. Nothing changed. The team just started playing better. The team started hitting more efficient shots. Well, started hitting better shots. Not more efficient, but it's like that.
But there's things you see. I can't not take away credit from Steve Kerr because even though Mark Jackson did have the team playing well, Steve Kerr also changed the lineups. He put in a new offensive system. Yes, Steph Curry and them
are not really a system.
It is a system. I mean, you see the Warriors, the way the Warriors played, that ball movement, they didn't have that ball movement there like that when Mark Jackson was there. They implemented that ball movement, that system. Why can't you say that it got implemented? How can you see the players didn't get older and more experienced? I understand what they need to do better. Because that's a whole different offense. You get
the offense
older,
is not that different.
The offense is different.
It's not that much different.
It is different. You saw the Mark Jackson era. A lot of what the Warriors do now is a lot of off-ball movement with Stephen Curry. Not saying they didn't do it when Mark Jackson was there, but now the Warriors resemble the Spurs a lot more versus
You weren't even talking about the Warriors a couple years back.
Yeah,
you still talking about the Warriors team. The Warriors team is always
about them, but you didn't talk
about it as much as now.
But there is something to be said for how it was like a coach like Steve. The way Steve Kerr has helped in Draymond Green's maturation to becoming the player that Draymond Green was. Draymond Green wasn't even nobody even knew about Draymond Green a few years ago. Steve Kerr put him into the starting lineup. It was Steve Kerr that did things like that. The guy that's coaching the Boston Celtics, I can't remember. Brad Stevens. Brad Stevens. There's plenty of good coaches that are doing things around the league that you can not acknowledge that they're doing great things with maybe lesser talent. The way Brad Stevens has the Celtics playing is great. The way what Stan Van Gundy's doing in Detroit is great. Detroit was just a team a few years ago that wasn't good. Stan Van Gundy comes there. They're in the playoffs currently as it is right now. So there's plenty of examples of coaches that you look around the league that are helping their teams win. And it just so happens Steve Kerr had a lot of talent to do it, but it's not by accident that the Warriors won 66 games last season. I mean, that's no coinky ding. I mean, it's because I'm not saying it's all because of Greg Popovich. I mean, you have great players also, but Greg Popovich, there's a reason why people say that. There's a reason why you go to a team and you know what the culture is there. What was the culture in Cleveland? We can't say there was no culture. There wasn't a culture in Cleveland. It was LeBron, and whatever LeBron says goes. There can't be a system where people are doubting who's the player and who's the coach. It can't be that. There's nothing like that on any other team. The Warriors, no. Bulls, no. The Spurs, no. There's nothing like that on any of the teams that we talk about that can contend for a championship.
But okay, so the same thing can go for that Heat team when LeBron was there. When LeBron is it more so where LeBron goes? Because LeBron did the same thing in Cleveland when he was first there. Everywhere LeBron goes, his coach is always in the hot seat.
See,
it's always in the hot seat.
Here's the thing: so his coach is always in the hot seat because LeBron James teams have such high expectations.
Okay, so what's the blame for what David Blatt did wrong? I mean, because if LeBron doesn't perform one game or something like that, or go for a streak, he gets in like that streak when he went in his hot seat his first time. LeBron was out. You take probably the best player in the NBA right now out the game, and what do you have on the team? Because most of your money goes to him anyway. So building a strong team like a Spurs team or something like that is difficult when you're paying LeBron so much money. So now you bring in someone like Tyronn Lue, who, like you said, is getting on him for defense because he understands defense because he got dropped by what's the name? By Allen Iverson, got stepped over. So you understand stuff like that. He's like, don't want that happen to you, to LeBron. So you bring in someone who's yelling, hey, don't let this happen to you. Stuff like that. So you see what I'm saying?
Let me reply to your point. To one point, your point about what happened. David Blatt wasn't on the hot seat because of the loss. It's because people were questioning his experience. The same thing with Eric Spoelstra. Eric Spoelstra was on the hot seat because they were losing. That's the difference. When they started winning, Eric Spoelstra was on the hot seat anymore. You noticed that, right?
And the same thing with David Blatt last year. After LeBron came back and started winning again, nobody really brought up the.
No, people brought it up again in the playoffs. People brought it up again in the playoffs. People were especially after that play that happened with the timeout. Everybody was talking about it in the playoffs.
Mistakes, though.
Everybody that you can't make. You're the head coach. You can't make that mistake.
Point guards make the same mistake.
No, point guards make
the mistake on the
court.
court.
You can't. You're the head coach. You have to know how many timeouts you have. You can't just say you're supposed to be coaching the Cleveland Cavaliers, head of that organization. Everybody's already lambasting you for talking about how people even Tyronn Lue had to teach David Blatt how to use the timeouts because he would use them in ill-placed times where we get all these commercial timeouts. a commercial timeout is coming up in about 2 minutes, David Blatt would use a timeout right before then. That's ill-timed timeouts. Tyronn Lue was who was teaching David Blatt these things. Tyronn Lue was the one that was teaching David Blatt. A lot of things David Blatt didn't know about the NBA game, Tyronn Lue was teaching him. And to your point about Erik Spoelstra and the Heat, the only reason why Erik Spoelstra was on the hot seat that was because they were losing and because Pat Riley was the general manager and because Pat Riley had came down beforehand. That was the main reason. He came down when Stan Van Gundy was coaching the Heat team in 2006. Pat Riley had came down and coached that team to the championship. That's the reason. But after they got to the finals and everything, and the thing is, this is a different culture because the leader of that team, even though LeBron James was the player, you could argue it was co-leaders and Dwayne Wade and him. LeBron is the leader of this team. And Dwayne Wade, the way Dwayne Wade handled that team, he took a step back for LeBron to be the main mogul of the team. But it was still, you still felt that the team was Dwayne Wade. Miami was Dwayne Wade. Yeah, that's what it was. And you felt, so there was two different cultures. You know what I mean? There was a different culture in Miami. When you went there, you knew it was Pat Riley and the Heat, whatever. You know, you never questioned who was running the organization. What you knew, Pat Riley was the guy. But Cleveland, you don't know what it is. You don't know what everybody's questioning who's in control. If LeBron, David Griffin had to say in his press conference, LeBron doesn't run this organization. LeBron is the one running the organization.
You're right. And they said the same thing in Miami.
Nobody said that in Miami. Everybody gave Pat Riley the credit Pat Riley built this team.
I'm talking about when LeBron first got there. Everybody was like, is Erik Spoelstra really coaching them, or is LeBron coaching the guys?
No, people weren't saying it.
Yes,
no,
they were.
They were just saying Erik Spoelstra doesn't know how to do the rotations for the team. People weren't questioning if Erik Spoelstra, who was coaching. People were asking if LeBron had respect for Erik Spoelstra, because especially after the shoulder bump, but nobody was questioning if Erik Spoelstra was actually the coach. People are questioning now because LeBron never subbed himself in and out of Miami. He never waived off substitutions from players. He never waived off the plays of Erik Spoelstra.
The man made coach decisions.
Yeah, you know what I mean? He does that now in Cleveland. LeBron didn't do that in Miami. So in Miami, it mainly came down to, is Erik Spoelstra experienced enough to handle these stars? That's what the question was with Erik Spoelstra. Can he handle Dwayne Wade, LeBron James, Chris Bosh, get them all their touches and make it work? And then after Dwayne Wade himself was like, hey, LeBron, I'm not the same. You know, I have injuries or whatever. You take over. You do what you did in Cleveland. That's when everything worked out, because LeBron, if anything, LeBron didn't want to be that guy because he didn't want to step on Dwayne Wade's toes. LeBron didn't want to step over Dwayne Wade. It was too much of them deferring to one another initially. But once Dwayne Wade was like, hey, I'll take the step back, that's when everything in Miami started working out. Whereas in Cleveland, I mean, the next best player is Kyrie Irving. But everybody knew once LeBron James came back, there was no question about who was 1A, 1B, or whatever. It was LeBron. It's LeBron's team. Whereas in Miami, everybody knew that it's argued that Dwayne Wade, and when Dwayne Wade was in his prime, it was argued who was the best player.
Because Dwayne Wade was a megastar then.
He was, and that's my point. Now there's no question about who's the best player on this team. So when all this stuff is coming about the coaches, yeah, you know what I'm saying? When all this stuff is coming about the coaches, LeBron has not openly came out and said, I don't want David Blatt to be my coach. But you look at some things and you see some mannerisms that LeBron has had with David Blatt and some of what the coaches, the players say about David Blatt. I mean, at the end of the day, he is a rookie coach, or he was a rookie coach. And there was rookie mistakes that everybody knows you can't make when you're trying to get a championship team. Steve Kerr was a rookie coach also, but Steve Kerr never called a timeout when there was no timeout, when there was no timeouts left. You know what I mean? Like, there was things that he did that you knew that, like, Steve, there's also one thing that LeBron's always wanted in his career that he hasn't had, except for in like his first 3 years of playing. He's always wanted to play under a coach that's actually played in the game. He's never had that when he's had Mike Brown as his coach, when he's had Erik Spoelstra as his coach. None of those guys played. And so that's one thing he's always wanted as a coach. And Tyronn Lue was that guy. Tyronn Lue's won championships with the Lakers when he played with the Lakers. And then Tyronn Lue's, as we all know, the infamous Allen Iverson step over. But Tyronn Lue's made his rounds around the NBA. He's respected by a lot of players. And David Griffin on Mike and Mike even came on this morning and said, there's something about it when a superstar player on the other team looks at your bench and they have respect for the other guy on the bench. People didn't have that respect for David Blatt. And LeBron and them were sitting there looking at coaches like Greg Popovich, Steve Kerr. I mean, there's probably so many players. Everybody in the league probably wishes they were coached by Greg Popovich.
You're right.
But they're looking at the other bench and they always felt as though they were undermanned in the coaching department, apart from when Tyronn Lue was coaching the team. And Tyronn Lue, I mean, he's been under guys. He's coached by Phil Jackson. He worked with Doc Rivers in with the Clippers in 2013, 2014. So you look at things like that and you're like, Tyronn Lue's made his rounds around the NBA. Now, David Blatt, you come from Europe. The European game is a lot different than the NBA game. European players are a lot different than NBA players. NBA players are celebrities, they're stars.
Mm-hmm.
You know, everybody has their ego, but you have to be the coach that can deal with that ego and not be intimidated by it. You could argue that David Blatt was intimidated by the egos of
he couldn't handle it.
Yeah, you know, of the Cavalier players. But
I
don't want to disrespect them and say he couldn't handle it, because I mean the team made it to the NBA Finals. But at the end of the day, when you're hesitant to get on your best player about something he's doing wrong, whether it's a shot he took, because you're just playing shots that LeBron takes sometimes, you're like, wow. But the person that would get on him about that shot was Tyronn Lue, not David Blatt. So when you see that, and the David Griffin, you're watching how the team reacts with both coaches, and like you said, you know, some coaches are leaders, some coaches are you know, the all-around package. When you see that a coach doesn't have that, but it's possible another coach might have that and more, you're of course going to want to promote that other coach. That's just how it's been in the NBA.
Okay, so I mean, I agree with what you're saying here, but we can't. I can't sit here and say, like, I understand that, you know, because Tyronn Lue's been in the NBA, he understands, and LeBron wants to play for an NBA coach, a coach who played in the NBA. But if you're gonna come across seas, I mean, you have to be a great coach. You have to have some kind of impact when you was across. For someone to bring you from across seas, where the league is a lot weaker than it is in the NBA, and especially to coach a team, and he's still not doing a bad job. Yeah, maybe he's timid. Yeah, maybe because, you know, you don't have that in Europe. You don't have players like the LeBron James over there I mean, I'm sure you have European megastars, but they're not NBA.
Let me add something to your point before you finish. But see, here's the thing: when Tyronn Lue was brought in, LeBron wasn't on the team. Tyronn Lue, I mean, not Tyronn Lue, David Blatt wasn't on. LeBron wasn't on the team when David Blatt was brought in. David Blatt was not brought in to coach LeBron James, or Kevin Love. It was Kyrie Irving and Andrew Wiggins.
But they kind of
it was a rebuilding team.
Like they
didn't know LeBron was coming. LeBron never confirmed. They were making a run at Gordon Hayward. The Cavaliers were ready to pay Gordon Hayward money if LeBron wasn't ready to come with them. But LeBron never confirmed him. Right after they hired him, LeBron was like, I'm coming back. So then they make the trade for Kevin Love. David Blatt was not brought in to coach this championship team. He was supposed to be able to coach a team and grow as an NBA coach, as an NBA coach, make his rounds, you know, come up the rank kind of thing with Kyrie Irving and Andrew Wiggins and develop those players. But he didn't get that chance to because LeBron came back.
And even though LeBron came back, I don't feel like he did a bad job as a coach.
He didn't do a bad job as a coach, but
which is why I don't understand why they can get rid of him after 1 year. That's the thing.
It's just because of how
they feel like Tyronn Lue can do a better job.
It's just because of how the culture on the team was. Because there's plenty of teams that you can look at that they had winning coaches and they got fired. Mike Brown with the Cavaliers, he had LeBron. There's so many teams that you can see. Here's the thing that's deceiving about coaching with LeBron. LeBron is so great; he will always have your team winning. But sometimes it's a product of LeBron, not the coach. And it works both ways. I mean, sometimes if you take the Warriors off, if you take Steph Curry off the Warriors aren't winning as many games. But here's the thing, though. There's so many times you look at it, you're like, Steve, because of how they run the system Steve Kerr set in place, it helps them win even when Steph Curry's not there. You know, when Klay Thompson's not there. Steve Kerr, the way he's given Draymond Green to be such freedom to be such a point forward. There was a stretch when Draymond Green had 3 triple doubles. Under Mark Jackson, it never happened. You know what I'm saying? So you look at those things.
But players develop.
No, players do develop.
So can we sit here and say, all right, I do have another good question. Can we sit here and say, was it Tom Thibodeau was the coach, right, for the Bulls? So Fred Hoiberg is there? Hoiberg. So is that the reason Jimmy Butler's better now?
No, it's
or is
not
it because of development?
It's not the reason Jimmy Butler is better. It is because of development. But there's also a reason to be said that Tom Thibodeau was running his players into the ground. You know what I mean? And it was getting to a point where the players were getting hurt, you know, because they're playing so much minutes under Tom Thibodeau. Granted, the team was winning, but they kept getting hurt. Joakim Noah, Derrick Rose, as we all know.
But Jimmy Butler's minutes haven't dropped.
Jimmy Butler's minutes, but here's the thing: Jimmy Butler's minutes have dropped off. There'd be times Jimmy Butler had played 48 minutes under Tom Thibodeau. You can't play your players like that.
He played 48 minutes this season also.
He hasn't averaged near 48 minutes. His minutes have went down.
He averages 42, I think, right now. And he went under Tom Thibodeau was 44.
That's a big difference.
2 minutes.
That's a big difference.
Actually. Yeah, I think it's averaging and out.
Yeah, that's actually a big difference for, you know, how a player, how to have a and Jimmy, you have to also guarantee think about this. Under Tom Thibodeau, Jimmy Butler was always guarding the best players and stuff like that. Under Fred Hoiberg, it doesn't always happen as much. You know, Jimmy Butler will sometimes guard LeBron or whatever, but then they sometimes put Tony Snell or somebody on that person. So Fred Hoiberg has, you know, I'm not trying to make it sound like I'm giving all the credit of Draymond Green's development to Steve Kerr, but he's had a big deal to do with it. Putting him in the starting lineup has helped Draymond Green improve. Jimmy Butler was off the bench at first, and Tom Thibodeau brought him into the starting lineup eventually after a while, after whatever. Yeah, you know what I'm saying? He brought him off the bench. So, that happened during Tom Thibodeau. That didn't happen with Mark Jackson. David Lee was still starting with Mark Jackson, and then Andre Iguodala was starting. And then it was Steve Kerr who made the choice. I'm going to move Andre to the bench and all this stuff. And we're gonna put Harrison and Draymond in the starting lineup and whatever they did, and then now the rotation got them a championship. So, it's things like that you look at what a coach does that helps a team come better. But we gotta move on. But we could talk about it for forever, man, because that's a debate, man. We didn't even get to get into the score of the game that they had lost. Honestly, the score they lost to the Bulls. 96-83. Yeah, 96-83. But